the Commissioner of Police, the members of the Diplomatic Corps who are here this morning, our wonderful recruits who are passing out this morning, and all the friends, family, and members who are here this morning. Bulavinaka, and a very good morning to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning is not a time for long speeches, because we all know, as we've seen large numbers, friends, family members have come here to celebrate and indeed recognize the hard work that these recruits have actually gone through in the past few weeks of training. And today is a culmination of that achievement, of successful achievement of theirs, to pass out as constables today. This is, of course, no minor feat for them. It's a personal achievement for them, and we should all recognize them for that personal achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands once together, again, together for all of these recruits. Being a police officer, being a police constable, is a very onerous task. It's a task with huge responsibilities. As you've just heard, the police code of ethics, the vision and the values of the police force is not some minor feat. But to bring it down to a very fundamental issue, for the ordinary citizen in the street, the police officer represents to them the law. We hear a lot of people talk about the rule of law. The rule of law is a very simple principle and fundamentally means two things. That when the law is made, the law applies to everybody. When the law is made, it applies to everybody. And when that law is applied in practice, it is applied equally to everybody. In other words, we cannot pick and choose who should be prosecuted if they breach the law. We should not take, as the constable said, into account our personal affiliations, a person's ethnicity or religion or province, or whether they went to the same school as you, whether they're family members, whether you're friends. A police officer's responsibility is to ensure that they enforce the law, that they apply the law equally to everybody. That gives confidence to members of the public. That gives them that level of comfort. The uniform that a police officer wears has a lot of strength in it. I remember as a child, once in the Singatoka town, I was only about 10, 11 years old, that there was a man being chased down the street by a group of about 7 or 8 very large men wanting to beat him up. And he saw a police officer, and the police officer was much smaller than all these people who were chasing this one man. And he stood between this man who was being chased and between these people who were chasing them. And even though that police officer was physically much smaller in size, he stood there with his uniform, and the people who wanted to beat up this single man could not do a single thing. They did not move. He simply told them to turn around and go away. And they listened to him. And the man who was being chased suddenly became very emboldened. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very simple example. The authority and the power that a police officer wields is very significant. We as members of the public must respect that. We as members of the public must know that the police constable, the police officer, represents the law. And we should ensure that we do not in any way undermine the authority of a police officer. Equally important, of course, is the responsibility of the police officer. The police officer must ensure that because he or she is wearing that uniform, because there is such a high demand on them in terms of them enforcing the law, that they must equally ensure that they themselves apply the law fairly. They must ensure they should not favor anybody. They must ensure that they are able to respect all citizens of our country. They must respect all citizens of our country. They should not see the economic status or the social status of the person. They should not look down a person just because he or she is a worker or works in the market or is a taxi driver. But call somebody who may be a politician or a minister or a businessman sir or madam, but don't call sir or madam to the person who's some ordinary citizen. Every citizen should be a sir or madam to the police officer. So therefore, it is again important for us to understand that the police force and the recruitment of this recruitment this morning goes to show how important an element the police force is to our society, the functioning of our society. We saw in the past 2 years, COVID-19 affect all of us. We were in lockdowns. We had bubbles. Who was enforcing all of this? Our discipline forces. And the police force were the key discipline force that actually was enforcing this. They're the ones who actually had to ensure that people adhered to the law. They're the ones who had to carry out the prosecution. Sometimes the task they have to carry out is not easy. They may be members of the same community. There may be somebody who went to school with you, or you're from the same province, or you went to the same mosque or temple or church. But when it comes to enforcing the law, when it comes to issue of integrity, professionalism must stand apart from everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish all the recruits this morning all the best. I'd like to thank all the family members and friends and other people who've supported them to come up to the stage. The fact that so many of you are here in large numbers means that you know how important an event it is. It is a significant milestone in the lives of these officers. Some of them that I spoke to are in different parts of Fiji, and they're from Vanuatu but being posted to the Western Division, or they're from the Western Division being posted to Vanuatu. They'll be throughout Fiji. They'll be going to the islands. And we want to wish them all the best. We want to ensure that we as government give them the right tools, the right framework. And we of course are working through the Commissioner of Police, who has made significant strides in the police force in the recent years. We wish to continue with those the critical elements of facilitating and creating a modern day police force. There are new challenges for the police force. We have drugs, we have human trafficking, we have cybercrime. The digital age in which we are did not exist 20 years ago. Hardly anybody had mobile phones. Crimes can be committed through mobile phones. Pornography can be committed through mobile phones. The internet. All of these are new elements within what we call the landscape of enforcing the law. So as government, we want to provide the right tools to the police force. We want to provide them the right terms and conditions of work, of accommodation. And all of this can be achieved if all of us exactly understand the role that the police force plays in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish once again all the recruits all the best. I'd like to thank all the members of the discipline forces who have contributed to the passing out of this recruitment, and also would like to wish all the family members for being here. And have a good day. Thank you.